Hello and welcome back to the ministry. This is Taj McCameron. Today I wanted to talk about turning the corner. The Lord gave me this word yesterday amongst my travels. A lot of us are in a phase in our lives right now where God is preparing to move, to shift, to exalt, to bring us into a position of power, to bring us into a position of influence. And it doesn't have to be way up there, celebrity type thing. It could be, you could be given a position at your job. You could be given a new job. You could be given a community position. You could be exalted at your work. You could be every level. It could go all the way up. It's a turning point. But a lot of us have been in that season of preparation to be put into these places and spaces. I remember one time I was listening to somebody's story where they had been on this job for a period of time, or they had been learning about like special education and children and all this kind of stuff, and they were brought in, I don't know whether they were adjunct or what, they were brought in as a teacher, and they were going to be given a position that will give them the ability to facilitate a program for that grouping of people. And they hadn't even worked the job like that, and it gave them good pay, gave them all of this kind of stuff, and it actually startled the individual because they weren't working or weren't working there, but they had been being prepared by the Lord in a different way. Maybe they were working at a summer camp. Maybe they had were babysitting a set of kids that had special needs, or they were assisting or volunteering at I forget what do you call those, recreation centers that help children like that, but they weren't working a job like that. God, in this person's season of wilderness, was preparing them that way, and then they were given the job, and they were like, wait, what? They're getting paid, they get to choose their salary, meaning they got to negotiate their cost, and then they got a overseeing position all at once, everything all at the same time. And this wasn't even part of my work, but I wanted to show you what an example of what that looked like. So what exactly am I saying? I'm talking about the fact that you have to turn a corner. A lot of us, the Lord has had us in a season where He's had us in a level of isolation. And it's like that moment between the point in time when Joseph came out the prison, but before he was presented to be positioned as emperor or something. It was a season that God let you heal. He let you go through the last minute of the breakings of any curses that needed to be broken. He allowed you to get the ideas, set you up for that season. He even tested you in the opportunities that He gave you in that season. He tested you in the relationships. He tested you in every area that you were praying about. That's what He did. But what I've been getting maybe about a month and a half now has been, God is shifted and you need to shift with Him. But you may have gotten the instruction to shift, like you need to move from that position, but God hasn't said or released you from the position that you're in just yet. And in that, it can be disorienting because of the fact that you know that the Lord has said move, but He hasn't said when to move, right? So I released the word recently called, what is the name of that word? Uh, you have to stay in position or something like that. It's the one with the quote and the mist over it. But it's uncomfortable where you are, at least spiritually, because you're like, I know I need to physically do something, but you have not yet been given the out. I recently also did a word talking about the baby was breached. The Lord gave me that. A lot of us have been in a season where the Lord was trying to birth something out of us, right? So in Him birthing something out of us, He had to take us through a process. And it's so interesting. You know how you know you're in a birthing season? I'm going to tell you right now, if you didn't know and you want to know what that looked like, God will put your physical body through an experience that will mimic labor. Okay? Example with myself. What He did for me is, anytime I'm in a season of transition or a season of growth, my wisdom teeth will start acting up. And it literally feels like pain of contractions in my mouth. Okay? That's how intense it is. And it'll be for a period of time. And I'm sitting there like, God, this is painful. But one day there, I just said, I was sat in prayer, and I said, I prayed, and the pain stopped. Then in about less than 24 hours. But I knew it was a birthing pain, because what then followed is, after the pain shifted from there, I went through a level of distress in my body, back pain, everything mimicked going into labor. And I knew that I had birthed out what was necessary in that process. Okay? But with that birthing came a shift. Just prior to that, a leader that has covered me for several seasons gave me a instruction, was what she gave me. And when she gave me that instruction, she said I needed to go and do something. So at first, when I first got it, just before I went through my labor process, I was conflicted about that. But after I went through the labor process and God timed it perfectly, it literally happened. The birthing process completed the morning of the day that I went to do that instruction. I just felt like somebody needed to hear that. Okay? And that's how I knew I was allotted to be able to do this. So later that day, what I ended up doing was I actually went out. I only went 2 places, home and the location that I worked out of. That's it. The majority of my isolated season. The instruction I was given was to step out and go someplace else. You can only see a shift when you make the choice to do something different. Did I talk about this in one of the movie reviews? I'm not sure. But you got to make a choice to change your direction, okay? Some of you are waiting for God-ordained marriages. Some of you are waiting for opportunities. Some of you are waiting for family restoration. Some of you are waiting for financial restoration. Name the gamut, it's there. But you have to do something different to see a different result, okay? And even if that is making the small step of initiating what the instruction was, you moved. Okay? What I did was I took a walk. I literally heard in the spirit, take a walk. I said, okay. I was in the middle of my work day, completed what I needed to complete, and I felt in my spirit, I'm going to go to this place. So even when I was passing it in the car on the way to where I was going, I said, that's only a couple of blocks. I'll just walk. And as soon as I finished working on what I was working on, the Lord released me, go take the walk. I said, okay. So I took the walk and I walked to that location. There were some things that I was researching that I needed to do, and I said, let me go in there and let me check this out. So I went and I looked up 2 different things that I was interested in. Those 2 locations, those 2 things, they didn't have the appropriate type of what I was looking for. You understand what I'm saying? So because it wasn't the right type of what I was looking for, what ended up happening was I still ended up having to leave, but I knew I can get that, or I can get, because I priced it. I priced what I was looking for. It was a planner and a journal. And planner seemed kind of small, and a journal, it was a different kind of notebook. And I was like, I might go back and I might get those 2 later. But I've never really, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not a planner person. If I was to use a planner, I'd more than likely rather have a planner that is on my phone or on my computer, because if I was going to use the planner to plan a schedule for somebody, I'd want to be able to sync it to them. You understand? So me writing it in a journal ain't gonna help nobody but me. Writing it in the notebook helps nobody but me. You understand what I'm saying? But if, let's say I have an assistant and I have a husband and I have people on my team and stuff like that, I can easily say, this is the schedule for day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've already written it out. Shift. Take that, shoot it to the people that need it. That way they already know that's the schedule. If it changed, I change it, and then I'll shoot them the new schedule. And it's literally, I don't even have to update. And I can update instantaneously from my phone. Now, yes, the issue in that is the fact that anything happen to the electronic. But at the same time, no, because if you're using a digital service, 9 times out of 10, I can switch from this device to another device to another device. So, irregardless, I still have my schedule. But if I write it on paper, I have to literally give you the book. Then, you have to come to me for me to tell you. You understand what I'm saying? I don't have to tell you anything. I just shoot the schedule to you. But that was my rant. That was not my point. You got to turn a corner. You got to turn the corner. What is it that I mean by that? When I left that location, I crossed the street. 1, you got to cross over into that thing, and 2, you have to turn the corner. I literally walked straight up the street to get to the first location. I had to cross the street, thereby turning the corner from the original destination to get to my secondary destination. And I found this beautiful little bistro that had I'd been passing it all the time, and I said, you know what, let me just go in there. So I went in there, and I knew that the Lord was telling me to go in there because my total for my bill was exactly $345. $345 is a numeric value that represents taking steps into a direction. And not only did I see $345, I saw $345 like 5 times that day. You have to be willing to make the change, even if it's on a minimal level, take a walk. And you know something? It was raining that day, and it started to rain in my transit back. And it was one of those scenarios, to me, that was almost like a confirmation that the rain of blessings is coming. But I had to make the decision to turn the corner. Some of us, it's in the small steps that we take that God blesses it. It's not the fact that, as for instance, the person was suggesting to me, oh, you need to go drive out, do this, go all the way. I didn't need to do all that. For me, the simplest thing was to get up and just take a walk. God said, take a walk. Will there be a time frame for... Okay, there will be a time frame for all of that. But sometimes God just wants you to take the first step. For me, the step was to walk to the location. Maybe I'm not driving right now, but what I could do was walk to some place close by, explore nearby, do something a little bit different. What is the point of this message? You must turn a corner. You must make a minute shift. You don't know what that shift will do, which reminds me of the word that I released. It's a word that I talked about change in direction, because I was talking about, at the time, I had experienced something when I was in New York about 4 years ago, where I was taking a walk in the neighborhood that I was living at the time. And as I was walking up the street, it looked like my path was blocked. But when I turned the corner, I saw that I was actually not obstructed. It just looked like the truck was blocking my path. God will make a way to turn or reroute you that to you it may look like, oh, I gotta turn here or do that. He's trying to alter your route. Suddenly shift your direction. Suddenly change what it is that you're doing in that experience in order to bring about change for you. But notice, before God does any type of physical move in your life, he shakes up what you're doing on a day-to-day. So he might have you where you would sit in one place all day long and work. He would have you get up and move and go somewhere else. He'll have you get up and work in the coffee shop where you've been working in, I don't know, your own office space. Or, a communal office or something like that. He'll have you in that kind of place, and then he'll be like, go to the coffee shop and work today. Go to this place and work today. It's uncomfortable for you because that means I gotta walk over there, or that means I gotta do something. The first thing that happened to me when I first stepped out to start walking around, the first thing I noticed is how unathletic my legs were, because of the fact that I was like, ew, my legs are hurting right now. And I only walked about 3-4 blocks. That was it. It let me know that I was more out of shape than I thought I was. But and God is addressing those things in this season. He's shifting those things in this season. He's giving you wisdom in relation to that stuff. What else? But it's a shift, and you must turn the corner, because in order for you to step into the things in which God's trying to get you into, you need to move. Yeah, you need to move. So I'm gonna leave that there, and I'm gonna come back.